Hey everybody, so got something a little bit different here today. One of my viewers reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to review a security camera, a hidden one at that. So you can see here, this is made by Camduck. Full disclosure, this was sent to me. I did not pay for this, so this is hopefully will be an unbiased review of what I think of this product. Again, I did not pay for this, it was sent to me. Just want everything to be out in the open there. So just opening it up, it looks like it comes with a very high-level manual. And I know I said it was a security camera, but I'm assuming it's hidden somewhere up here so you can't see it. Looks like there's a little hole for a microphone there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Maybe a speaker. Yeah, speakers. I don't know if this is two-way or what. Not a whole lot of documentation that comes with it. Yeah. So I guess let's follow the instructions. Built-in light. Some interesting callouts in the instructions. So the app that you're looking for is CIXICM. I was able to find it in Play Store on a Fire tablet. So we'll get that installed. There is a note here about charging and overheating, which I thought was kind of interesting. They don't want you to use all three charging ports at the same time. I guess, okay. I don't see any markings on here that indicate it's been looked by any regulatory body, like Underwriters Laboratories. No UL listed. Maybe it's a pre-production product, I'm not really sure. But I don't see any regulatory markings on it that suggest that it's been evaluated by an independent third party and is safe to use. Perhaps that's where the label might go there. I don't know. So let's plug it in and see what happens. Hope it doesn't let the magic smoke out. Got some light blinky action now that we have power. Opening the app on the tablet. This app seems a little sketchy, but we'll try it. It wants to know my location. I don't think it needs to know that. Let's start the setup process. Let's click to add a camera. Okay, I'm not really sure what this means. What am I supposed to do here? Okay, is there like an OK button? I don't really care. Okay, apparently it needs to know. Oh, this is frustrating. It's claiming it needs to know the device's location to connect to Wi-Fi. I don't see why that is. That seems like an unnecessary permission, but okay. Let's try this again. Add. No idea what I'm supposed to do here. Okay, we already did that. We did this already. Okay, so it appears that these messages are buttons. That was not obvious to me, so if we click here, now it's doing something different. And we're just waiting. Okay, that's nice. Please check if the camera was plugged in and then there are lights to flash after plugged. What does that mean? Alright, so all the blinky lights stopped. If blue light flash off, please tick. Let's do no indicator light on. Okay. It has been plugged in for over a minute, so I guess maybe in the first minute of power up it goes into a pairing mode. So I'm unplugging it now. Plugging it back in. So I guess there's a time limit on this exercise. Okay, blue light, red light is blinking slowly, blue light's blinking fast. So let's do Blue light flash on until off. I don't know what any of this means. Okay, so we have to connect the device to the camera's Wi-Fi. Oh man. Settings. Internet. Wi-Fi. Whoops. Wi-Fi preferences. So there's Camduck, that's what they want us to connect to. Okay, what's the password? Is there a password mentioned in the instructions? I don't see a password listed. Let's try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's connect. Connect. All right. Let's see if in the app it mentions the password. Maybe I just missed it. And the app seems to be... I don't get this. Please connect the camera signal on your phone's Wi-Fi list. The camera signal name is... Okay, got that. I've read the above text. Oh, all right. So now they tell you what the password is. Okay. Camdog66. That looks right, right? Okay, now back to the app. Got it.
Please connect to the camera Wi-Fi, then return to the app. Please connect to the camera Wi-Fi, then return to the app.
I'll connect to my guest network. Okay, I guess I should have listened to all the messages it was saying. All right, so now we got... All right, now what? News, local file, SD. Whether connect to Wi-Fi or not, connect to Wi-Fi can view remotely. Okay. Okay, so now it wants me to... Okay. Wi-Fi name is not null. Let's let it scan. I'm going to go with guest, because I don't trust this thing just yet. I'll enter my password. All right, so I got it hooked up to the guest network. It's doing something. I'm not exactly sure. So I hooked it up to the guest network, and that guest network is isolated from everything else on the network. So that's actually on what's called a separate VLAN, which gives you a kind of a way to do network isolation without separate physical hardware. So think of it as like a separate network all within the same wired or wireless network. It's great for untrusted devices or people that you just may not know, but yet they need internet access. All right, so let's hit play. Affected by laws and Amazon's rules, in some states the camera can open audio features by mutual consent. The law of your state allows it. Please feel free to contact us. What? What the heck does that mean? Okay. zoom in or out the film. What film? Okay, so I guess it's working. There's my hand. Oh, there's my camera. Look at that. And my audio receiver. Quality seems to be pretty good. Hey, everybody. I did notice that the footage gets kind of grainy if there's a lot of motion. Like this is like a low definition video right now. Gets kind of blocky. I don't know if you guys can see that. A lot of that did seem to go away though when I changed the modes, although now it's skipping around a lot. I changed the mode from 1080p to 4 looks like 4MP. I'm assuming 4 megapixel. Yeah, that did have a pretty dramatic effect on the picture quality, which is not super surprising. But it is a bit choppy now. My arm is moving pretty fluidly, and so am I for that matter, but it's a little bit choppy. Done some experimentation and looked at my network switch to see what traffic this thing is transmitting to and from the network, and it does look like this thing is transmitting between 40 and 60 kilobytes per second of data to an IP address in Singapore. I'm not really sure what that's for. I did reach out to the company that sent this to me to inquire to find out more about that and also ask about any regulatory approvals. But yeah, certainly a little suspicious to see that. I am going to try to block this thing's internet access to see if this still works. And if it does, yeah, I don't know what that could possibly be for. So let's do that now and see if the device still works. I'm going to block that in my network firewall. All right, so I removed all internet access from this device. The app on the tablet crashed fairly immediately, so I had to restart it, but it does seem to still be working. So I kind of question that data connection to that address in Singapore. Like, what could it possibly be for if the camera still functions without it? So certainly highly suspicious there. Is it possible that this thing is transmitting data to another country and they're spying on us? Certainly possible. I do want to hear what the manufacturer has to say, though, and hear their side of the story. All right, some time has passed. Was able to get in touch with the manufacturer about that communication with what seemed to me a server in Singapore. They got back to me, had a couple of email exchanges pretty promptly. They indicated that it's not always a server in Singapore, which has kind of been my observation as well. It's not always that same server. And they indicated it's needed to initiate the peer-to-peer connection. And before, when I was mentioning that server, I think I mentioned that if you disconnect connectivity to that server, the device continues to operate. That's true as long as the tablet here has already made a connection to the camera. If we have the app closed, we kill the internet on the Camduck, this can no longer find it. It shows up as offline. So the device has to have internet access for this to initiate the connection with Camduck. But once that connection has been initiated, it doesn't seem that connection's needed any longer. That said, the company assures me that there is no spying going on. The data is encrypted. I have asked them what type of encryption is being used to transmit the data. They haven't gotten back to me yet, but I'll certainly leave a sticky comment with those details once they provide them. Trying to think what else. That's probably about it. Overall, it's an interesting device. It's the app is a little kludgy. It's kind of in fractured English, but it does seem to work. You can see the power draw on the device is right around a watt while it's actively transmitting, so it doesn't burn a lot of power, which is kind of nice. The USB ports will not fast charge my phone, but it will charge my phone, just not the rapid charging. So overall, neat device, but certainly the transmitting data somewhere else is a bit sketchy with no option to disable that. It doesn't appear that this device is standards compliant, so I don't think you can hook this up to, say, Frigate or any other OnVIF or RTSP, or is it RTSP or STP? Anyway, one of those. I couldn't find like an open source way of accessing this camera, so there's that downside as well. As far as certifications, they say that FCC certification is in progress. There is no UL listing for this device. I think that when I mentioned that to them, they seemed a little bit surprised or caught off guard by it. They said they will look into it, but obviously any device you're going to be plugging into a residential wall out in the United States, you want it to be UL listed, because if it's not, and God forbid this device starts a fire or some other nefarious activity, that's going to be a problem, or could be a problem for insurance perspective. So I guess the $1,000,000 question, would I buy this device or would I keep it installed in my own home? I would not, for a couple of reasons. One, it's transmitting data over the internet. I'm a big believer in security equipment being open source or accessible via open source products like Frigate and other, like, NVR type of equipment. This does not appear to be that. There is no UL listing, so I'm not going to keep this thing plugged in, burning on a 120 volt high voltage outlet, and not have any UL certificate, any UL listing. So those are the two primary reasons. If anybody has this product, has a different perspective, feel free to share. Other than that, stay safe. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, everybody. Take care. All right, for some bonus footage, let's take this thing apart and see what's in here. So on the back, there's just a bunch of what look like Phillips head screws. You're going to need probably a micro screwdriver to get in there. Number 1 Phillips doesn't seem to do it. Got the 6 screws removed. It looks like almost like the center comes out and the outer portion with the ears stays on. I mean, I think those are ears. See if I can extract this here. I'm going to switch to a flathead bit. Resistance is futile. I think she's starting to come apart here. It's probably just a bunch of clips all the way around to hold it. Maybe? All right, I got it. So what do we see in here? Let me turn the light on. Okay, I stared at it for a moment. I saw one very obvious problem. This wire right here, which appears to connect the ground from this side over here, is not connected to anything over here. That doesn't seem intentional. It was just kind of flopping around in the breeze. I'm pretty sure I didn't break anything while I was taking it apart. I was pretty gentle and careful. But yeah, this is not connected to anything right now. So that's a little concerning. Other than that, just looking around, I see, so this black wire here, if you guys can see this, hang on. This black wire right here and red wire here appear to connect the outlet that plugs into the wall with the plugs over here that are passed through. I can't tell what size wire gauge that is just by eyeballing it, but it doesn't necessarily look thick enough to reliably conduct 15 amps, which is what type of receptacle this has. So a little concerning there. Again, the disconnected ground on this side, it looks like, yeah, so this is tight. So it might have just been a bad solder joint right here. As far as power going to the device itself, I see a red wire here, black wire here, obviously much smaller gauge because this thing probably doesn't need a whole lot of juice. And that is very likely feeding into this transformer that you see over here, and there's probably a voltage regulator buried under here that I just can't see at the moment. So I'm guessing that this steps 120 volts down to 5 volts or something thereabouts. There's probably a voltage regulator buried under there, or maybe it's right here. I see, yeah, I see, oh my, no, it's the transformer, sorry. Anyway, so power comes, oh, maybe it's in here, I don't know. Anyway, power comes in, goes to the transformer, steps it down. I'm sure there's some kind of regulator that convert, not regular, some kind of a diode bridge or whatever that converts the AC from the transformer to DC, and this little pigtail right here connects this high voltage board and also low voltage board to the actual circuitry that does the camera and the Wi-Fi. So up here you can see the microcontroller. I don't see any markings on it. I'm going to check with the microscope. There's a ribbon cable that goes from down here, the main board, up to what looks like the micro SD slot up here. And there's another ribbon cable over here that goes to what looks like the camera. So this is probably the camera board here up top. Up top. Again, the ribbon cable that connects the camera board, oops, sorry about that, to the main board down here. Let me get this thing on the microscope and see if I can identify any of these chips. Man, I totally missed the mark on that thing, so I got my ribbon cables mixed up. Sorry, this is actually the camera here. Not sure what this board is for here, actually, because I don't see anything on the front side. I don't see any connections between it and the camera, so that remains a bit of a mystery. I did remove this, call it the motherboard. So this chip right here is actually something from a company called ICOM Semi. It looks like a wireless chip. It is an, I think it was an SV625P, SV6256P. Low power Wi-Fi dual band 802.11 ABGN system on chip. So that's this guy. There, right here, the little black chip. There is documentation on it. On the flip side of this board, and this is kind of why I took it out, there's more here. So here we have another microcontroller here, and this is our micro SD slot. So let me take a look at that one under the microscope and see what we see. All right, so I was able to get the digital microscope hooked up. This is what we're looking at for the actual main CPU. It's made by a company called Goke or Goke, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Did a little bit of Googling. That's a company that's actually funded by the Chinese government. They make this processor and several others. It has an ARM Cortex A7 at 900 megahertz. According to the Chinese datasheet, it says it's a quad core. So there you go. The datasheet is in Chinese, so I don't really know a lot about what's going on in here. If anybody's fluent in Chinese and wishes to translate and maybe add a little bit more info, happy to feel free to leave something in the comments. One thing I did see that was concerning about this chip and others from that same company is apparently, as I suspected, the security is terrible. So if you just do a Google search for GK7202, the third result in the list is hack for cheap Chinese Goke GK7102 cloud IP cameras. Can I say with certainty that this one is affected as well? No, I cannot, but I'm going to quote from this GitHub repo. The security of these cameras is terrible. Do not expose these cameras to the internet. They do talk about the devices communicating to cloud servers, so a lot of my fears before that were kind of rebutted by the manufacturer seem to be confirmed with this in this GitHub repo. So I'll leave a link to the GitHub repo in the description for anybody that wants to read about this. Again, it's a slightly different chip. It's a GK, and my Chinese digital microscope just decided to power itself off. Again, this chip is a GK7202. The one in this GitHub repo is a GK7102, so perhaps an older version. All right, enough about that. So we found our microprocessor right here. Right there. Sorry, I'm going to try to do this without shaking too much. Moving along, on the back side of the PCB, there is also this white connector right here that is labeled it says mic, but it's not coming across in the camera very nicely. So this white connector, which was not populated, appears to be for a microphone. Kind of interesting. Flipping the board back over, let's take a look at the Wi-Fi section. There's a picture of the SV6256P I mentioned earlier. I noticed that the build quality was not terribly good. You guys can probably see, I think that's a capacitor. That thing's barely holding on for dear life. I think they missed the pad a bit. So pretty shoddy workmanship right there. There's the soldering, which doesn't appear to be horrible. The only other interesting semiconductor that I can see on the board is this one right here, which appears to be a memory chip. I'm not going to bother looking it up, but I'm pretty sure that's what this is. Pulled that other board that was next to the camera out. It looks like this board may be designed for like some LEDs. It's hard to say, but there's a lot of stuff that's unpopulated on this side of the board, which is the side that faces front. The only component I can see that looks even remotely interesting is this black one over here. It actually looks like a microphone. I'll show you what it looks like in the microscope. Whoops, sorry about that. That looks very microscope-like. A microscope. Looks very microphone-like. So I'm guessing that this board serves multiple purposes. One, for audio. Two, for LEDs, which are not present. So maybe some kind of like, I don't know, some kind of flash. It'd be kind of silly to have a flash on a security camera. Could also be for some kind of infrared lighting that's not necessarily visible to the naked eye. I'm not really sure. So, all right, I think that concludes the teardown. Obviously, certainly questionable build quality internally. When we see the ground is disconnected on one of the outlets, we saw that resistor that was basically falling off or close to falling off of the Wi-Fi module. And obviously we have some security concerns with this Goki system on chip that appears to run the whole thing. So yeah, certainly thank Camduck for sending this to the channel to take a look at. But I think the device needs some more work in my personal opinion. So anyway, take care.